It'd be a lot easier to believe in God if we could see him, wouldn't it? I mean, it's that way with everything else. You know, if the boss promises you a raise, you believe him a lot better if he actually hands you a paycheck with the promise, don't you? And, you know, if your girlfriend promises to visit you on Thanksgiving, you believe her a lot better if she actually shows up. And so that's the way it is with everything. So it'd be the same with God, I'd imagine. You know, it's just easier to believe in him if we could see him. So I'd like to show you God today. But first I'd like to tell you something about dirt daubers. The dirt daubers that live around here look kind of like a wasp. They're a little blue-black bug that flies. And their biggest, you know, they're kind of harmless except to spiders. But a lot of them have died because people thought they were a stinging wasp. But their biggest claim to infamy is really they build these mud houses on the side of your house. And they're ugly, and so make people mad at them. So one of them built his house on the side of my house one day, and so I got mad at him and tore his house down, pulled it off the wall. And this bug had created a tube of mud, and it looked like a straw almost, about probably 5 inches long and 5/8 inches wide. And when I pulled that tube of mud off the wall, I turned it over, and I noticed that it was made into 5 little compartments. And come to find out, a dirt dauber house is not really a house he lives in. It's actually a nest where he raises his babies. And so I was just fascinated by this tube of mud, and I looked, and in the first compartment, it was sectioned off into about 1-inch sections of compartments. And in the first compartment was a paralyzed spider. Now, this spider wasn't dead. He was paralyzed. But he couldn't have gotten away in any case because he was encapsulated by mud. And but he was just sitting there, and he couldn't move. And in the second compartment was half of a dead spider and a tiny little bitty grub of a worm. And this little grub of a worm was alive. And then the third compartment, there was a big white grub worm looking thing and no spider. And in the fourth compartment, there was a brown, oblong, hard-shelled cocoon. It just looked dead. It looked inanimate. And then in the fifth compartment, I looked down, and what do you suppose I did see? I saw a brand new dirt dauber looking up at me. That dirt dauber didn't look like a spider. It didn't look like a grub worm. It didn't look like a cocoon. It looked like a brand new dirt dauber. And I just stood in amazement. I thought, what in the world? Who could do that? And I don't mean the dirt dauber, I mean the designer of the dirt dauber. I mean, who created a bug that could paralyze a spider? And then who taught him to make his house out of mud because he knows that predators don't eat dirt? And who could design something so beautifully and intricately in all these stages to where you ultimately end up with a new dirt dauber? I mean, when we're thinking about bugs, most of the time we're wishing more of them were dead. So who is this immensely talented architect who apparently loves bugs? It's God. Here's what the psalmist shouts. He says, "The heavens declare the glory of the Lord, and the earth shows his handiwork." And so the architect of the bug is God, and he apparently loves dirt daubers. But that's not all. The psalmist also talks about us, people. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Before we're born, our days are numbered. We're knit together before we're born. And we are created by a master engineer. And so listen to what it says about God. God is visible through the things he's made. So listen to this. God's invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made. That's Romans 1st chapter. So do you want to see God? Well, look at a dirt dauber. But that isn't all. You want to see God more? Look in the mirror. Each one of us has a task. That dirt dauber's job is to glorify his maker. That's his job. He goes out and makes a living and catches spiders and raises babies, and he's declaring the immense handiwork of his creator. And you and I are doing the exact same thing. And so know this, guys. Many people insist on seeing God before they'll believe in him. So what is our task? Our task is simply this. Our task is to become God made visible to unbelieving people until they can come to believe in an invisible God.